guy in that orange shirt. Who must be the fence expert? Who's that guy in that orange shirt? Who must be the fence expert? It's almost time to talk about the fences. It's time to discuss operations and expenses. It's time, it's really time to elevate small businesses. It's time for Joe to drop his knowledge, it's relentless. This rhyme of mine is getting a bit ridiculous. So here we go, we're live with Joe and Buck Show.
Good morning, Finch fam. So good to be back with you guys, virtually, as it were. It's been a little bit. It's kind of the holiday season. Fall's here, and everyone has something going on just about every weekend. But alas, here we are. Hope you guys had a happy Thanksgiving if you celebrate that where you are currently located. Welcome back to another live Ask the Experts Q&A. Running solo today. We're going to talk about all the events coming up, maybe not all the events coming up that are on my radar in the near future. But first and foremost, we have to start off by thanking Expert Professional Wood Care Studios for sponsoring these lives, for making this conversation happen. If you guys are listening on the podcast, you are listening to a recorded version of a live conversation that I have most every Saturday from 10 to 11 a.m. Central. We're a little bit flexible as far as that goes. You never know. It could be early, could be late, but regardless, most every Saturday. You can find these lives by searching Joe Everest on really whatever platform you enjoy watching videos on, primarily YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, but I'm sure it is elsewhere as well. For you guys watching live, thank you. Appreciate it. Let me know in the comments below, what events do you have coming up, say like in the next 12 months, that are fencing related? Well, I guess I tell you what, let's open it up for all the events, maybe not even fencing related, because there's one coming up here in the near future that's not fencing related that me and the team, we're still debating if we're going to attend in person or virtually, but we'll talk about that towards the end. First, we're going to talk about the fencing related content because that's why we're all here. First and foremost, let's check in and see who's here. If you are watching, let us know. Drop a comment below by saying hello. Also, like I said, what events you're looking forward to attending this year. What is up, Roger? So good to see you back in the chat. I tell you what, Roger's like one of the OG commenters. He's been here for years and years. Good to see you back in the chat. What is up, Kevin? Landmark Creations. Good morning, Fence fam. Good morning. Sheremy is here as always. Hello, everyone. Hello, Sheremy. I hope you got hooked up with the Women of FWA group that we talked about. That may have been the last time we were live. So hope you got hooked up with those ladies. If not, let me know and I can connect some dots there for you. Roger says, let's not forget the affirmation thingies. Roger's on the ball. Guys, if you're watching, it helps the algorithm if you do give it a positive affirmation. Now, here's the thing. Facebook doesn't like just view the likes anymore. You got to hover and then give it, I don't know, like a thumbs up or a hug or whatever. You can even do the angry emoji, and I don't know that it minds. So it doesn't like count against us, but it does show some positive affirmations. Give it a like wherever you're watching. It will probably help. Also, share it out so your friends that are watching or your friends can also be watching, commenting. Oh, man, you have to go to, guys, if you're watching, Mark, can you get the link for, it's like StreamYard.com/Facebook. Drop it in the comments. That way they can authorize Facebook to share their name, image, and likeness with us. So this Facebook user said, we're here for Fence and Things Orange. See you next week at Shangri-La, Fred. Well, this is foreshadowing the first thing we're going to talk about here in just a minute. Michael Greenfield, we know Michael. Hello, buddy. Good morning from the STL. Always great content. Mike, I appreciate you. Guys, if you're watching from Facebook, just click this link real quick, StreamYard.com/Facebook, and reaffirm that you can share. I say reaffirm because I've done this. It probably resets annually would be my guess. I've done this like 2 or 3 times when watching other people's streams, and I'll go to comment and they'll say Facebook user. So anyway, click this link. Actually, you're going to find it over in the chat. Click the link, affirm it. That way we know who we're talking to. All right. Like I said, let us know you're here by saying hello and also what events you're looking forward to attending. So first and foremost, Shangri-La's coming up. So this is a Thornton Fence Consulting Group. It's the first annual, I'm reading from my notes here to make sure I get this right. First annual Fence Business Conference. I call it the Fencing Business Conference, and before maybe some people would get confused with the sport and such. But no, so it's at Monkey Island, which is in Afton, Oklahoma. It's a Shangri-La resort. If you guys haven't been, you need to go. It is an incredible resort. You've probably heard Nathan and I talk about it when we were talking about the Midwest chapter of the AFA. That's where we hold our annual meeting there. Of course, there's also like a golf tournament to raise funds for scholarships, that sort of thing. Anyway, fantastic resort. It is a great property. It's a family-friendly property, so they've got pools, they've got tennis courts, they've got like a mini, I want to say it's Wrigley Field. I always say which one I think it is, and it's not that one, but I think it's Wrigley Field. Like a little miniature version. So they've got wiffle ball, they've got indoor pool. They got the whole thing for the whole family. So we will be attending, though, for the Fence Consulting or for the Fence Business Conference. If you guys have been involved in the fencing industry for any length of time, you know the name Tony Thornton. Synonymous. So was synonymous with the fencing industry. Used to be the former executive director of the American Fence Association. Now president and head honcho of the Thornton Fence Consulting Group. And guys, let me tell you, so when this first came out, I knew he was going to do great at it just because he's this guy that made himself accessible to the entire fence industry. Heck, he publicly gave out his cell phone and he answered it as executive director when anyone had any questions regarding AFA. So then I knew he'd be successful when he went out on his own doing consulting. And sure enough, I was talking to him the other day. This guy's booked out forever. So he's helping fencing companies, both small and large alike, better the business, grow their business, really try to find some efficiencies in the business. And that's, I think, where the new and old alike, small and large alike, come in, because he can step into a company. Now, if you don't know, we should have Tony on in the near future. Again, we had him on a little while ago, but it'd be good to have back on just to talk about his story. So he's worked really in every aspect of the fencing business. So started out with Jeffco Fence. They're installing fence as a young lad, as a kid, and then kind of worked his way up through the industry. He's worked for fence installations companies. He's worked for manufacturers. He's worked for distributors. He ran the American Fence Association for a number of years. So when he rolls into a fencing company, he kind of knows where all the efficiencies are hiding. So now he's rolling all this in. So I think and like I said, we'd have to talk to him to clarify for sure, but I have a feeling what happened was he looked at his calendar and said, I only have so many weeks, so many consulting spots available. Let's hold a conference several times a year. He has these super summits throughout the country. So he said, let's hold some conferences. That way I can get multiple companies in one room and try to scale up the impact I'm having on the fencing industry. And so this is the first annual Fence Business Conference. So so he had the fencing summits, and then this year he rolled out super summits. So he grew his team to where you're not only getting Tony, but you're also getting access to other industry professionals. And then this level is the Fence Business Conference. So he's taking that and he's growing it even bigger. I am stoked. I think, so like I said, he and I were talking the other day. I want to say there's like 80 some odd folks registered to attend this. It is going to be massive. The Fence family is going to roll into the Shangri-La Resort, and they're not going to know what hit them. Check it out. So we threw a link in the description below. It's coming out, like I said. So it is December 10th through the 13th. So it's a week and a half. It is right around the corner. I had some family stuff. We weren't sure when it was going to land, I guess. Turns out that I was able to attend. So there are still seats available. I literally registered this morning. I knew I was going last week, but this morning I actually registered. Now, here's a tip for you. You have to reach out. So you can register at that link. That'll take you right to Tony's registration portal. You have to register with the hotel directly. There is a room block for the Thornton Consulting Group. You have to call the Shangri-La directly with their local number. This is about half hour of my life this morning because I went on the website and called. They have like a 800 number, an 855 number, whatever they are now. And they had no idea. Now, I should have known to expect this because we went through this with the Midwest AFA also. You have to call Shangri-La Resort directly. I want to say it's like a 918 area code or something like that. You have to call a local area code number or local to them and book your rooms directly. Anyway, I am super excited to attend that. We were talking about who's attending, like who's already registered, and it's going to be kind of the who's who of the fencing industry. I saw Tony made a post actually in a Facebook conversation about this event. A ton of the, I guess you'd call them executive leadership from the AFA. So, you've got like regional boards, you've got the national board, then you've got like the executives. A lot of the executives are going to be attending. I know Brian and several of the guys from the FWA are going to be attending. Obviously, right now in the industry, there's a huge conversation around gate safety, specifically how to prevent future tragic instances involving gates in general. So around that, there's going to be Representative ASTM, I believe, there to talk about gate safety, or at least be part of the conversation around gate safety. I know I believe, Nathan, you're going to speak on gate safety, or at least be there to talk about gate safety. We talked about that the other day. Also, Josh Glover's coming in. I believe he's talking about gate. There's going to be a huge conversation around gate safety, obviously after the tragic event a couple weeks ago. But not only that, we're also going to talk about running a successful business, because one thing we've talked about here on the channel, there is a pretty large difference between being great at building fence. I mean, there are some guys that build incredible fences. There's a big difference between that skill set and the skill set of running a successful business. Now, a lot of times you see the same person in both roles. A lot of times you see someone trying to transition from one to the other, and that's usually where some frustration comes in. So I think that's one of the things that Tony's trying to work on, helping people through, is maybe transferring from the running or being a successful fence builder to running a successful business. That's obviously going to be a topic of conversation. I saw Sam's going to be there. Super Sam from .com is going to be there to talk about social media. I saw Justin Judy's there, going to talk about technology in your fencing business. The problem with starting naming people is you're going to leave people out. Those are the ones that stuck out. Those are just names that, hey, I know that guy. There's also going to be several other people talking about several other different things. No Dig is going to come up, so there's going to be a conversation around driven posts, because that's being talked about a lot in the industry. Going to be a lot of good things covered. Now, it's only 3 days, so it's a 10th through the 13th. Actually, and the 10th is a welcome dinner, so it's the 11th, 12th, and 13th is going to be the actual business portions, or the training portions of the business conference. So it's a lot to cram into 3 days. I'm excited. There's going to be a wealth of information. Like I said, it's going to be a bit of a who's who list of the fencing industry. I'm looking forward to it. Protecting Your Radius podcast. Speaking of Nathan Downs, we can all grow together. Oh, Facebook hates me. So he was the Facebook user. Welcome, Nathan. See you next week. You got it. I'm looking forward to that. Guys, if you're attending the fencing or the first annual Fence Business Conference, let me know in the chat below. Like I said, if you haven't registered, you can click that link. It's not like an affiliate link or anything. It's just I try to make it convenient for you just to click it and get into the registration. Or you can always search it yourself. Thornton Consulting Group, Thornton Fence Consulting Group. You can Google. I literally Googled that to find the registration link. So it is out there if you'd like to not follow the link provided. Next thing up. So that's coming up December 10th through the 13th, literally like a week and a half from now, or less than a week. It's coming right up. Next thing up is, speaking of the American Fence Association, Fence Tech is right around the corner. January 23rd through the 26th. It's going to be here. It's next week next month at this point. It's going to feel like next week here in a few weeks. It is literally right around the corner. This year is going to be in Nashville, Tennessee. Guys, I am incredibly excited. One, Nashville is just an incredibly fun place to go. It maybe not as family friendly as like the Shangri-La Resort, but it is still kind of a family friendly destination. But it's just a great time. The conference center is going to be, I think it's like a block or two off of Broadway, which is where all of the bars and music venues and all that are. So not only is there going to be education, there's going to be obviously Fence Tech, the show floor, which I think is the one thing a lot of people go for. And then obviously it's all the conversations that happen on Broadway after the main event. I am stoked about it. If you guys haven't attended a Fence Tech, you absolutely should. Starts off with education. So dates 23rd to the 26th. So if it's 23rd through 26th, probably the 23rd starts the education. Probably 23rd and 24th are both the education. There's also some certifications. So if you're working towards one of the certifications through AFA, they typically have those testings on site. Some trainings and testings on site. But guys, last year was in Oklahoma City. Record attendance, or it may not have been technically record. There are a ton of people there. It's the most people I've seen at a Fence Tech in a number of years. I'm looking forward to Nashville. But one thing about this record attendance is there was standing room only in every. I'm trying to make sure I'm accurate here. In every educational room I popped into, it was standing room only. It was packed with people trying to gain more information, more insight on the fencing business side of things. You had everything from, gate safety was a conversation that we're having there. There was a gate operator conversations going on. There's general fencing business conversations. if you guys watch the channel, you saw the recap of Matt Warner's very inspirational speeches. Guys, if you don't follow Matt Warner, you absolutely should. He's popping up more and more again on social media. When this guy talks, I listen. I believe you guys should listen too. But we got to sit through a really great talk that he had given about his personal experience and how he can relate to others and help with their business. So I'm fully expecting to see more conversations like that at Nashville. They'll start the 23rd. I would bet, should have become more prepared on this, but I bet show floor probably opens midday the 24th, all day 25th, half day the 26th would be my guess. And there's never enough time to be on the show floor. So you walk in and it is a massive room just full of fencing goodness, right? It's all the vendors associated with fencing. Obviously, we talked about Justin Judy. There's a lot of tech folks there. Julia Fence Cloud, I'm sure, is going to be there. There's also material vendors there. There's really anyone you could want to know in the fencing industry will probably be there. The time is not enough. There's never enough time to sit and have really good conversations with these folks, but it is nice to be able to have one-on-one conversations, just face-to-face conversations with the people you probably talk to on the phone throughout the year. It's good to see them in person and to see you guys, the Fence Fam, kind of hang out and talk shop for a little bit. Always a good time. Susan Worley is with us. What is up, Susan? Hey, y'all. Right back at you. It was good to see you in Arlington. Speaking of events that are coming up, we'll get to Arlington here in just a little bit. Next up, so that was the January 23rd to the 26th in Nashville is the American Fence Association's Fence Tech. So you can find that out. So it's funny. So it still says Fence Tech 2023. But this will be Fence Tech 2024. Same link, AmericanFenceAssociation.com/Fence Tech. I literally was there about 10 minutes ago. That link still works, even though it is now the 2024 version of that. Next up is the Expert Professional Wood Care Products Staining University. So it's coming up the following month, February 25th and 26th in Lebanon, Tennessee. Now, Lebanon, Tennessee is just outside of Nashville, so we're going to Nashville twice in 2 months. Couldn't be more excited for this. Now, Lebanon, like I said, it's a little bit outside, which is kind of nice. So you get all of the access to the amenities, maybe that something a city the size of Nashville provides, but also Lebanon, I want to say, is probably like 30 minutes, 45 minutes outside. So it's pretty quiet. It's a nice rural setting. It's a venue we like going to. I should have put the venues down here. It's a fairgrounds there in Lebanon. If you've gone the last year, at least the last year, they're definitely there last year. I believe it's been there the last couple of years. You know exactly where it's at. It's there at the fairgrounds. Great location, plenty of room to spread out. Talking about anything and everything staining related, fence staining related. It could be, there's practical application, right? So Caleb and his team kind of walk everyone through kind of what this situation is right here. The actual staining of the fence, to talk about, hey, what equipment do we use? How do we use it? Obviously, what stain we use and how we mix the stain, how to clean and care for the equipment, kind of all of the hands-on experience that you would need to learn how to stain fence. But also, I should talk about the dates. I should act like I do this. February 25th and 26th. So one of those days will be the physical application, and it's typically depending on weather. So in February, it can be hit or miss. One day is the practical application of staining. The next day, or the previous day, the other day, will be the business side of things. Again, just like we said, there's a big difference between building a fence really well and running a fence company very efficiently. Same also applies to staining fence. So that's kind of the thought there, is that there is a practical day, but there's also a day on how to run a successful staining operation, staining company. You see Caleb talks about basically ways of best practices maybe in starting and running a successful company. You also get other speakers. So I'm going to talk about video marketing, how to grow your company using video marketing. There's going to be a host of other folks there talking about basically how to run a successful business. So February 25th through 26th, Expert Professional Wood Care Products Staining University. We've got the link below. so you can register there to let them know you're coming. And this is going to be, it seems like every year, I had to reach out to Ashley, see how many people have registered so far. It seems like every year we host this event, or I say they host the event. I get to attend, I get to be part of it. But every year we kind of do a wrap up to talk about, hey, what were the wins? What could we do better? That sort of thing in running the event. And every year we say, I don't know how it can get bigger than this. I know we said this last year that this was going to be the biggest year, but here we are. Another year, and it's grown even more. I think we're going to see that again this year, just talking to the people that are going to be there. Guys, if you run a fence company that offers wood fence and you're not offering staining, regardless of who you use, you're leaving money on the table if you don't offer staining services. Now, obviously, we as a company use Expert Professional Wood Care products. We were a customer long before they came on and sponsored the show. Actually, they sponsored the show because of our relationship we had built through staining fences. I know there's other fence staining products out there. We've used, I don't know about most all of them. There's a lot of products out there. We use the main ones, the ones that you see associated with the fencing industry quite often. The biggest thing for me was the smell. So obviously our team members' health is really important to us. These are the people that we're all in this thing together, right? These are the people that are on the front lines dealing with the customers. We want to make sure they stay healthy and happy. So when you crack open the top of one of these stains and the first thing that really hits you is a chemical smell, you start to be kind of concerned about it. Now I know everyone is supposed to wear respirators or some sort of breathing apparatus to make sure you're not breathing this in. I think we all understand that maybe that doesn't happen all the time. Maybe some of our team members aren't the best at wearing all of their safety gears at all times. So the chemical smell kind of made me pause. Now, we use them. They were decent products. They applied similar to the Expert Professional Wood Care. Now, a lot of them did require back brushing, so that's a whole different conversation. The Expert line of stains, you open it up, there's not a chemical smell involved there, so it made me feel more comfortable with it. It also led to less questions down the road from our customers. Actually, the questions we were getting initially weren't really from our customers. It was from the customers' neighbors as to, they're going to smell this too. And it is noticeable, the scent or the smell, just the chemicals. So we get a lot of questions of, hey, what are you spraying in my yard? What is getting in, what's dripping on my grass? What am I going to be putting my kids up against or my pets? What are they going to be touching on this? It became a thing. Now we had the SDS sheets where we say, hey, it's safe to touch. It's all that, but still the smell really put people off of the product. So we were really happy when we found the Expert line of stain, because now we've got a product that doesn't smell, but also has the same great benefits. Obviously, it's an oil-based sealant. Oil naturally repels water. It's just a great product to work with. If you would like to work with a product, or at least test a product to see how it works, you should attend Staining University. I'd love to see you guys there. Link is in the description to register for that. And Kale's coming on in the next couple weeks, and we'll discuss the event in more detail, including how many of you folks are already registered. And I can already tell you it's a ton. So again, when I'm talking to other fence folks, we're talking about this conversation this time of year of what events are you attending. And I tell you what, so the ones we're talking about, Fence Consulting Group, AFA Fence Tech, Expert Professional Wood Care Products, Staining University are typically the top three we're talking about this year if we're talking about winter events. Next up is the Fence Workers Association, The Fence Show, coming up in Vegas. Now, guys, last year was the first annual Fence Show. Holy cow. It was incredible. I think we've talked about this a lot, but if you guys are in the fencing industry and haven't attended the Fence Show, you absolutely should. It was an incredible time. I think everyone agrees that it exceeded expectations. I don't know what I had expected to see. I mean, it was a first-year event, right? And it was from a relatively new association that we weren't really sure what to expect. I say I really wasn't sure what to expect when we showed up. Registration was smooth and painless. I got right on the show floor. It was laid out really well. Not that others aren't, I guess, but I was really struck by the layout. Made a lot of sense. Big wide aisles, easy to get through. sometimes some of these shows, they can get a little crowded. If you want to stop and have a conversation, the flow of folks is walking right past you. Makes it hard to stop and talk. But Finch Show didn't seem to have that. Also, so both at FinTech and the Finch Show, Sean King was running the Finch games. What an experience. So if you guys are attending FinTech or Finch Show, you should absolutely check out Finch games within those. But Sean had this whole area set up at the Finch Show, complete obviously with the Finch rig, is big blue trucks that are just beasts of machines. We got to watch a lot of good guys build a lot of good fins. It's interesting just watching, picking up tips and tricks. So we sponsored the chain link portion of the event, so I kind of paid a little bit closer attention to who was in those events. But it was neat picking up tips and tricks, just watching people. I mean, it seems pretty straightforward, right? Building chain link fence. If you've built a handful of them, you know more or less the broad strokes of how to build this fence. But it's the intricacies where you find efficiencies, right? So one of them was bias cuts. So it was interesting watching people's thought process on where they place the cuts, how they place the cuts, that sort of thing, or if it's just stretching out the wire. And it was interesting to watch all the little tips and tricks. Of course, you had some holding competitions. So you want to talk about just some physical specimens of fence builders. These guys digging these holes are absolutely incredible. This is going on again at both FinTech and the Finch Show. If you guys haven't attended, you absolutely should. Now, the nice thing about Finch Show, one, there's no way around it. It's affordable. The resort we stayed at was absolutely affordable. It's going to be at the same place again this year. The event itself to attend was affordable. It was airfare. I mean, getting in and out of Vegas, obviously airfare is pretty cheap. The food on site, there was a massive amount of food. It was the whole theme of the whole thing was it's affordable for anybody, right? So for a new fencing contractor, or maybe not you're new in the industry, but maybe you're new to owning a fence business or new to a management position in an existing fence business, it's absolutely approachable from a financial position to attend, or if you're running a fence business, to bring a team out to attend. Yeah, it's really approachable. Really good people. One thing that was interesting, so we talked about this at the wrap-up of the show. There was people at this show that I was talking to Brad Jones about this, Canadian fencing contractor, and we've been attending FinTechs for quite a long time, and you see, maybe you don't meet everyone, obviously, but you start to see a lot of familiar faces. You just recognize the same person you've seen every year. There were a lot of new faces at the Finch Show. So that's one thing I thought was kind of interesting. In an industry where you kind of get to know most everyone in the industry, to see a room where half the people are new faces is an interesting thought. It was neat to see. So Finch Show is coming up. It is going to be September the 11th through the 13th this year. So a couple weeks later than it was in 2023. Make plans to attend. It's Las Vegas, so finchshow.com, I believe, is the link for that one. Oh, there it is. Learn more about it at finchshow.com. It is going to be a heck of a good event. So we're talking first annual new and improved. The show was well done. Even the virtual side was fun for those not in person. This is something I thought was really interesting, and I honestly didn't sit down long enough to wrap my head around the virtual aspect because we were there in person. This is something I think we should keep an eye on because not everyone's able to attend. Like I said, it's financially very feasible to get there and attend, but sometimes just the scheduling doesn't work. I mean, this is September, so a lot of guys are trying to close out their seasons. The northern fencing contractors are trying to close out the bulk of their season. Absolutely understood that that's why a lot of people can't attend. They just have scheduling conflicts. So the virtual option is very nice. So interested to watch that get built out. Roger said, Greeny Weenie aside, Gala's products seem to be a bit more environmentally friendly. Absolutely. The more you dig into it, the more it makes sense, just in a lot of different ways. I completely agree, Roger. Front Rock Fences, what's up, guys? Hi, Joe. Loving the Florida weather. You don't have to rub it in. Are we allowed to, we can block people, yeah? I think we can. All right, I just keeping my options open here. Let's It was like 30 degrees when I woke up this morning, so I don't want to hear anything about anyone loving the Florida weather. What is up, Ike? Good to see you here. We're looking forward to going again. As a manufacturer and vendor at the show, we had a good experience and met a ton of installers that we were able to show our newest products to. Guys, if you follow the show, you know Ike. He's part. I like how they put this, part of the Mike and Ike duo. Now, these are the guys that wove some incredibly just tough fence. It's 6 gauge, it's mini mesh, and then they place the explosives on it. They're trying to, test it for resilience against a threat to whatever property they're installing this at. So this is the mesh where it made like basically a head-sized hole, and that's about it. It was so good. This is the second time I got to meet Ike. If you get the chance to meet Ike or Mike, I don't want to leave Mike out of this, to meet these guys, take the time and please sit down and have a conversation. I never have enough time to learn. These guys, their story in itself is amazing, but just to hear about the type of fencing projects that they're involved with, they take high security to an entirely different level. You definitely should check these guys out. You should also definitely check out the video I did. This is going to be like pro level, like show running here. You should check out the video I did with these guys. Now, if I was super pro, I would have known the title of that. Mark, do you know the title of that video?
We got 2 of them.
We've got, oh, that's right. Okay. We're going to link them in the comments below. But check it out. It is, anyway, it's a great product. Great guys. You should see these guys wherever you get the chance. Absolutely take a minute and say hello. Yeah, we have a lot of fun doing that part of the job. I would imagine so. So it's so Ike and I had a little bit of a conversation. I was like, so how is this tested? And he's like, oh, and you could tell when people are like legitimately enthusiastic about what they do. I was like, oh, let me tell you. So, and he walked me through the process of just how they set up this experiment with the explosives, blowing a hole through this fence. It's part of a conversation when we're talking about increasing the security levels of properties, and is part of a larger conversation that's kind of interesting. So right now the standard for commercial fence is going to be like a 2-inch mesh, 9-gauge wire. This stuff, everyone makes a ton of this wire. Ike and Mike had an interesting video. I've seen it several places. Obviously, you can, by following their company, you can find it. But just how quickly someone can get through this fence. I mean, anyone can get through this fence, right? With a pair of bolt cutters, you can be through in under a minute. It's interesting to watch when you shrink that from a 2-inch down to a 1-inch, how much time savings. And of course, from a 1-inch to a 3/4 to a half, how much time saving, or how much time you, I don't know what I'm trying to say, how much time you increase, the time it takes to get through this fence, the deterrent it increases is absolutely crazy. So as part of this conversation where we're talking about, the industry is talking about bringing the standard from a 2-inch down to a 1-inch, just again, to increase safety, but also to increase the time it takes to basically get through this fence, right? To penetrate through the fence. If you get a chance to talk to Ike or Mike, you should absolutely do that. These guys, typically when I see one, I see the other. They're always together, so you'll likely find both. Take a few minutes, talk to these guys, especially if you're on the commercial side of things, dealing with security fences. These guys deal with security in an entirely new and another level, right? They take security fencing to a whole different level. Check them out. Al Martin said, speaking of Florida weather, don't forget Fence Training School, Sebring, week of February 11th, held by NAFCA. You absolutely couldn't agree more. And actually, so I got these kind of out of order. Definitely check out. So NAFCA. So I mentioned the Arlington Fence Project. The service project and business school. I say just wrapped up. It was a little bit ago. Great time with great fencing contractors learning more about fencing business, but also there was a service-related aspect to it. We built a good amount of fence. It was a one-day project, but it was a full-day project there at the Arlington National Cemetery. If you missed that, but you'd still like to get involved with a fence business school, NAFCA is a great solution. Sebring, Florida. You can't argue with Florida weather this time of year. Check it out. Let's see. working on a link for that. So some of this stuff I just spring on Mark, and it magically appears in the chat below. So check out. I'm sure you can search NAFCA Fence Training School, Sebring, Florida. Great guy, great group of guys. Absolutely. Here is the video we did of with Mike and Ike for the looking at the blast hole through the 6-gauge mini mesh. Look at that. Just like magic. NAFCA Fence Training School. Check it out, fornafca.com/fence-training-school. Guys, one thing I think that we're fortunate in this period of time is to be in an industry with so many options, right? So this is a whole different conversation just about in the last handful of years. I say handful of years. In the last 10 to 15, 20 years, to see not only AFA, obviously, is they've been around forever, right? The association that everyone knows and associates with the fencing industry, but also we've got NAFCA, the North American Fencing Contractors Association. I mean, these guys, incredible work. Really good guys to deal with. We got Fence Workers Association, Brian and his team absolutely cranking out the resources for everyone. I think as a fencing industry, we're incredibly fortunate to have several different industry associations that are all trying to push the industry forward. There's conversations around like just how these associations are different, right? So I think people say, well, there's always been the standby, there's always been the front runner, I guess, when it's associations in AFA. Why do we need another association? I think you answer the question by attending these events, right? By meeting the folks behind NAFCA, by meeting the folks behind FWA, by seeing the missions that are there, and obviously Fence Tech with AFA. If you guys haven't attended an AFA event, you absolutely should. These are great organizations that are all focused in different areas of the fencing industry. And it's not so uncommon. You talk to someone in the HVAC, the plumbing, the electrical trades. A buddy of mine has an HVAC/plumbing company here in town, a pretty sizable business. And he and I were talking about this and just about associations. Like, you guys only have 3? He goes, we have a handful of organizations, and they all take care of kind of a different piece of the overall industry pie. He's like, if you've only got, we were talking about this in that I was like, there's confusion on why we need so many associations and this. And he goes, so many? How many did you say there were? I said, well, there's 3, there's 3 main ones. There's, like I said, NAFCA, AFA, and FWA. And I was like, no, we've got like 7 or 8. And there's probably more that I just don't participate in. So I say that to say it's not as odd. Now, like I said, for a number of years, if you ask my dad, he would have considered there to really only be one front runner when it came to associations. So, and now, a number of years ago, right? So now we've got 3 really solid associations. So from that perspective, it does seem like a lot. But when you look at industries, professional industries out there, 3 really isn't a lot. And, there's always room for improvement, right? And so I think what you see when you have different organizations tackling similar problems from different perspectives is it benefits the industry as a whole. So we were talking about gate safety. So take this as for example, right? So obviously after the tragic accident, this was a primary topic of conversation in the fence Facebook groups that we're all a part of. And you see a number of individuals, Josh Glover seemed to be, and Nathan was also making content about this, but there were several people that were talking very loudly about the need for additional educational resources, just additional attention to the issues. I saw Brian jump onto that fairly quickly in that obviously gate safety resources rolled out very quickly. I saw a live that he did a couple days ago. So the FWA has a AI chat, like a generative chat tool, which is incredibly neat. If you haven't had the opportunity to go play with that, you absolutely should. But there's a tool within this generative chat AI, generative chat AI, creating a letter to send out to school districts, just saying, hey, I looked at these gates. Here's some issues I found. To talk about this, please reach out to me at X, Y, and Z. That all came online pretty quickly. I mean, the accident happened a couple weeks ago. If that, yeah, I guess with Thanksgiving thrown in there, it all blends together. But I believe it was just a couple weeks ago. Came online pretty quickly, right? So I think that's one thing you see different about FWA is just the resources seem to come out fairly quickly. Now, that's probably because the team is smaller and more nimble. There aren't boards and committees that these things have to go through. Not saying one is any better or worse than the other. I understand that each has its own benefits and pros and cons sort of thing. But I believe as an industry, we are better for it in this one example, in that people that were asking for resources and looking for just more education on the subject got it pretty quickly and continue to get it. Obviously, the education isn't over. The resources aren't fully out, but it offered us an option very quickly. So in this one example, we saw this come out. Now, you also have the other example of these fence training schools, right? So you see both NAFCA and AFA and FWA had training at the fence show, but each one has its own set of education. AFA has the fence training school, fencing university or field. I should know this. We attended one there in Nebraska up at Matt Warner's place up at Empire. I want to say it's fence training school. Field installation school. Does that sound right? That sounds right. But basically on-site training to where, listen, I absolutely understood that sometimes it's just not feasible to travel halfway across the country, attend a training event, get room, board, accommodations, meals, and all that. So by having these field installation schools, they come a little bit closer to kind of where the contractors are at. Like the one in up in Nebraska, it was maybe 2 years ago, I guess, up there at Empire Fence, Matt Warner's place. Beautiful place, by the way. It was really nice. And it was really well attended. I don't know if those things sell out, but if they do, it was a full room. So Matt fed us for a couple nights, and each time it came to having dinner where everyone, so we all split up throughout the day to basically learn different areas of the trade or maybe improve different areas of our trade. But everyone come together for dinner. That was a full room. That was absolutely jam-packed. So it was really well attended. So fence installation school, obviously you have AFAU once a year. Actually, it just wrapped up early last month, I believe. So once a year there in Arlington, Texas, they have a massive training. Just if you missed that, next one up would be NAFCA's fence school there in Florida. But to put a bow on this, each one of these organizations has something to offer. I think each one of them offer it in somewhat different versions, right? So, and some of them just resonate more with different contractors. It could be whether it be a part of the country they're in, whether it be a part of the industry that they like to specialize in. It seems like contractors, now there's also contractors like me and several others that attend all of these, right? So you see a lot of familiar faces in each one of these, but sometimes you see contractors that just resonate with one over the other. So I would encourage everyone to check out all of them, and maybe don't have don't have a closed mind maybe when it comes to looking at these organizations. Speaking of the AFA, what's up, Michael Reed? AFA just finished an entire year of gate safety awareness from FinTech to OKC to the Gate Safety Awareness Month in October. That is absolutely fair. Also, part of the AFAU, they're talking about gate operators. As part of that is obviously gate safety. I'm not saying that absolutely understood that all the organizations offer something to the industry. I didn't mean to sound like AFA was not contributing to the gate safety conversation, obviously. So, Michael, thank you. Appreciate you attending the show. We need to have you and Nick on the show coming up, talking about just, like I said, FinTech is going to be right around the corner. So Absolutely. Guys, let me know what haven't I talked about yet? What events are you guys attending that we haven't talked about yet? I would love to attend additional events, fencing related or not. So there also is one coming up. This one's coming up in February. So it's Social Media Marketing World. It's held out in San Diego. And it is exactly what it sounds like. It is anything and everything relating to social media marketing. I started attending this event, I want to say 4 or 5 years. Well, it's probably longer. The weird thing about COVID is it's kind of a gap in the time frame consideration here. I want to say started going to that in 2017, 2018. Anything and everything social media. So think about in 2017, 18, we were just talking about YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Now, of course, there's TikTok conversations, there's Meta conversation, which Facebook is now Meta, but also just the metaverse. That was a big discussion 2 years ago at Social Media Marketing World. So, honestly, if you guys have heard the origin story of this channel, it starts at Social Media Marketing World. So I met a plumber named Roger Wakefield. He's from Texas. The expert plumber, Roger Wakefield, the expert plumber, where he talks about just different plumbing related content. And I was just attending this event by myself, representing Ozark Fence Company, trying to be better at social media. And this guy walks up and he has this like really cool handlebar mustache or like Full Manchu, is that what? I don't know. I think it is Full Manchu. Anyway, came up looking like Hulk Hogan. And he's like, "Hey, I hear you're a fencing contractor." I sure am. The hat says Ozark Fence. That's a pretty dead giveaway. He goes, "Well, I'm a plumber." Like, "Oh, okay. Well, really good to meet you. I've got one of my best friends is a plumber." He goes, "I think we're the only two tradespeople here." And we were looking around at this conference center. And it was mostly, at the time, it was mostly like agency folks, right? So marketing agencies, media creation companies, that sort of thing. He goes, I'm pretty sure we're the only two tradespeople here and we should know each other. So, okay, yeah. So if you've met one tradesperson, you've met them all. We're just salt of the earth people. And we relate with each other maybe better than we relate to marketing folks. No offense, marketing people. So we started hanging out. He goes, I got this YouTube channel and I talk about plumbing related content. He goes, I just searched real quick. We're at dinner. He goes, I searched real quick and there's no one talking about fencing content like on Facebook, YouTube, or in video format. Now I understand, Dan Wheeler, I'm not here to have a conversation on who started talking about fence first on podcast or video. Neither here nor there. In video, there is no one talking about fencing related content yet. So he goes, you should start a YouTube channel. It's like, yeah, because I have a ton of free time between running this business and trying to grow it. I've got no time for that. He goes, well, listen, I run a plumbing company and I'm in the same business. We talked about business. We're roughly the same size, running roughly the same amount of team members out of our shops. He goes, you should do it. I go, oh yeah, I will definitely take that into careful consideration, and then promptly didn't. Next year, saw him at Social Media Marketing World. He said, hey, been looking for your content, haven't found it yet. I was like, well, yeah, listen, I'm running a business, just who has time for that? Because guys, let me tell you about the time it takes to run something like this. A tremendous amount of time. Now, as we grow, we get to bring on team members to try to help bring that off. Like, obviously, this is Mark's full-time gig, and he takes a large portion of that off my plate, thankfully. But at the time, I just didn't have the time to run a channel like this. I'll tell you what. So I've got team members on my team that help me create this content, to post it, to do all this, thumbnails, the whole researching titles. He goes, how about I have one of my guys, he has some time available. I'll have him help you run this channel. He can do the content. You record the content. He'll help edit it, post it, and that sort of thing. And thus the channel was born. So from Social Media Marketing World, this channel, came into existence, I guess. So I say that to say outside industry events are absolutely worthwhile. Also, fun note, gosh, I wish I remember. Met the gentleman with the Savannah Bananas. I got a great picture of me and him in his yellow tuxedo, just like casually hanging out on an aircraft carrier because they had these networking events. And yeah, so you also get to meet some fairly interesting people. So now this was, like I said, this was 2000. This was at the very beginning. So this is probably 2017, before the Savannah Bananas are what they are today. And I was like, so you guys are an independent baseball team. Like, can you walk me through, like, what does that mean? Help me unpack what that is. He goes, all right, so think Ringling Brothers, Barnum Bailey Circus meets professional baseball. He goes, that's what we do. He said, we got the breakdance and nanas that come in between innings. We got a first base coach that does like all sorts of crazy stuff. We do choreographed. So during baseball, he goes, oh yeah, it's an independent league, so we're free to do any of that. So I had a hard time understanding that. And then obviously now the Savannah Bananas are just like the best thing going in baseball. You get to meet different people in different industries, which is really the benefit of going to any of these events, right? So we talk about this a lot, that not only do you get the benefit of going to the event, to going to the educational seminars, to meeting vendors on the show floors, but also it's the conversations that happen at the restaurants, maybe at a bar, in a hotel lobby, outside of these events, these networking type deals they have in the evening. I would argue that the same, if not more, value gets found after show hours for any one of these shows, right? I think you can make that argument for any one of these. Well, see, here's the thing. So Nathan says the Podfather started first. Joe Everest, Mr. Orange, you glad he's here? I do. As a dad, I do like that joke. Aren't you glad we're here? I'm not here to have this conversation. Because I think Dan Wheeler I think his podcast may have been out first. We'll have to research this maybe. I have a feeling he was probably talking about fence first because he was the first podcast for the fencing industry. Now, the intro he used to have when I was listening to him in the very beginning was the first and only podcast for the fencing industry. Now, obviously, now we know that's not true, but he still and forever will be the first podcast for the fencing industry. He may be the first fence guy talking about fence in social media. I don't know. We should look this up. But anyway, guys, let's see. Let's check out some comments here. Like I said, let me know in the comments below. What have I missed? What events do you like going to that I haven't talked about? I'm always here to go find new events to learn more and grow my business in new and exciting ways. Protecting Radius podcast, Nathan says the Fence Industry podcast and my fence life will be at the Northeast AFA in late February up in Mystic, Connecticut. I know nothing more, just Mystic. All right. There you go. The Northeast AFA event in late February. There you go. We'll have to check that out. So so Michael and I have had this conversation a lot, and this is what I hope everyone takes away from this is there is a ton of good content out there, and people should check all of the content out. Absolutely. But just watch mine first, and then go watch everyone else's. That would be premium. But no, so I actually started that thought without reading Michael's whole thought here. The industry as a whole has a lot of good content. Whether you're talking about the social media shows, we should actually have a conversation real quick. This isn't a podcast. Like if you're listening to this on audio device, it's definitely a podcast. You're listening to a podcast. But if it's a video, if you're watching me like on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn, it's not a podcast, right? We've had this conversation, Mark. It's a show. Right. It's not a podcast or audio only typically. So you're watching a show. So anyway, there's lots of shows out there. There are also shows that have podcasts out there. It really wouldn't be, it's not a vlog. It's just a video.
It's a live show.
Yeah, just a live show. Well, even if you're watching it on record, like the recorded content we make, that's not a blog either. Or it's obviously not a blog. It's not a podcast either. So I don't know. I'm trying to think. I think somebody called this. Who was I watching? Maybe Casey Neistat called it like a vodcast or something like that. The video portions that are similar to a podcast. I don't know. There's lots of good shows out there. Whether we're talking about the Dans or whether we're talking about whoever else. Like there are Obviously, lots of good shows. Nathan's got a great show. Obviously, Protecting Your Radius podcast. You can click his name there in the chat and find his show over. Actually, he's the closest show to me. He's over there in Tulsa. I enjoy. So they've got 2 shows a week. I listen to them both. I don't typically watch them. I usually just have them queued up on Apple Music and listen to them as I'm tooling around. Got to listen to Nathan adding some exciting additions to his team. If you guys are in the fencing industry, you know the name Randy Ward. You should listen to Nathan's podcast where he introduces Randy to the team. Great addition, Nathan. Absolutely great addition. So, guys, with all that being said, well, okay. So he says, mind the Protecting Your Radius show. Now you can. So the video portion would be right. So the video portion would be a just a show, or like I said, as Casey called it, a vodcast. Let's look this up. Let's do something here. We're past the hour mark, so like we're past like the technical portion of the show. So let's do this. Unscripted here, folks. Let's add this screen. Present, share screen, new tab. Okay. So we'll say, what is a podcast definition? Okay, here we go. A digital audio file made available on the internet for downloading to a computer or mobile device, typically available as a series, new installments of which can be received by subscribers automatically. So like I said, I listen to the Protecting Your Radius podcast. I've got it queued up on my Apple Music. I also listen to the other shows. So we'll say podcast verse. Let's look this up. Oh, maybe this is just a vodcast. Okay, so maybe that is a thing. Vodcasting, called vlogging, vlog or VOD stands for video on demand, is almost identical to podcast. And the difference is that the content is video versus audio, and the content is more likely to be played on a laptop. Well, it shows how long this was written. Like, obviously, I think more people watch this on their phones than anything. Than a PMA, personal media assistant. Have you ever heard that term before?
No.
Personal media assistant? Is that a phone? It's got to be, yeah. Due to their newness and relative expense. What? I don't know. Well, traditional fine arts organization. That does sound like a fine arts definition. Let's see. Podcast and vodcast, great way to learn new information, hear new perspectives on topics. Main difference is that podcasts are solely audio, while vodcasts have video component as well. All right. I think we are calling this a vodcast now. Mainly because Casey said so. If you guys don't follow Casey Neistat, you absolutely should. Nothing. I mean, he absolutely has 0% fencing related content. But just like as a video, like you probably follow Casey, right, Mark? He's... Oh, like what? There for a while. Now, this was probably 3 or 4 years ago. He did a daily vlog where he would just create and edit and produce a video every day, just like whatever he was doing. Good grief. So anyway, I walked all you guys through that and I didn't even show you. Okay, so now let's show you guys what I'm talking about. I should act like I've done this before. So this was what I was saying, vodcasting. The VOD stands for video on demand. I still like a personal media set. I don't understand this, but this is kind of the definition we're going with, I guess. This is the one. Podcast and vodcast, great way. The main difference is that podcasts are solely audio, while vodcasts have a video component as well. So I guess that's the definition we're going with. These are now vodcasts, I guess. This would be, I think this would be a live show, though. This wouldn't be like I don't know. Okay. So, but not a podcast. A podcast would be audio only. And that's probably just one of those little things that doesn't bug anyone else. But like every time I hear like, well, it's not really a podcast if there's video, is there? So Yeah, Joe Rogan is a vodcaster. Yeah, and see that would be so. Your show technically, Nathan, would be a vodcast, right? Because there is a video component that goes with it. So just like this show, we'll rip the audio from here and we'll produce it as a podcast out there. But there is this visual video component of it. Yeah, Joe Rogan would be a vodcaster. So there you go. So more people listen to my show than watch it. What I don't know that it's like even in terms of viewership though, or watchership. Is that a listenership? You get it. You get it. I don't know that it's about who consumes your content where. I think if there's a video component, it's a vodcast. I don't know. But you're right. Like I consume your content via a podcast. So I don't know. I think it's just the protecting your radius show. I think that's what it is. Brian Fredrickson, welcome, Brian. Glad you're here. We were talking about the Finch show earlier, and we're also just talking about associations in general there for a little bit. Glad you're here. I was telling everybody about the Finch show. It's going to be bigger and better. Actually, one part I didn't talk about in relation to the Finch show, again, September 11th through the 13th, is that this year there's going to be like a demonstration area. So like equipment demo type area. Also, I have a feeling we're going to see like actual, maybe like installation demos, that sort of thing. There's going to be a whole outside demo area. You want to talk about just speed of response here. So this was something that we talked about. Brian, was it you and I? We were all talking about this at the event, so I probably heard it from somewhere and then brought it up when you and I were talking. But about have some sort of demo area, and actually, when we were talking about it, we were talking about having it in the arena. Like it's got dirt right there. You could drive equipment. Like I was thinking, like just like a Bobcat MT-100 or the Vermeer version or Dingo version, whatever. Kind of tool around in some equipment, dig a mock hole or whatever. And then next thing I know, I see a live video with you and Sean out in this like massive area. You're like, hey, guess what? We're laying out the outdoor portion of this, the demo. You guys asked and we listened, and here you go. And it was the next year. I had really, when we were talking about adding an outside portion or at least a demo portion to the event, I really expected it to be 2 or 3 years in the future. That's just typically the speed of execution when we're talking about like big events like this. There you go. Next year we're having, or this upcoming year, whatever, Finch Show 2024, there will be a demonstration area. We should definitely discuss that as well. Guys, the moral of this story is you should absolutely, if there's a fence related show, you should absolutely be attending. To recap, Tony Thornton's got the Fencing Consulting Group's first annual Fence Business Conference, December 10th through the 13th. It's like in a week and a half. They're at the Shangri-La Resort at Monkey Island. The American Fence Association's Fence Tech is coming up January 23rd through 26th. It's there in Nashville. The Expert Professional Wood Care Products Staining University is coming up basically a month later, February 25th through 26th in Lebanon, Tennessee, which is about a half hour out of Nashville. If you're flying, you fly into Nashville, and then you head out to Lebanon. The Fence Workers Association is having the Finch Show September 11th through the 13th. It's in Las Vegas. Also, NAFCA has their Fence Business School coming up, or it's not even a business. I should have written this down. Let's see. Let me scroll back here to Al's comment to see exactly what it is titled. Fence Training School, Sebring, Florida, the week of February 11th. So we've got, it's going to be a busy winter. We got AFA's Fence Tech, January 23rd through 26th. We've got the Fence Training School, the week of February 11th. And then we've got Staining University, February 25th and 26th. Holy cow. And then we all go build fence for a while. And then in September the 11th through 13th, when we're completely burnt out on fencing, we all meet up in Vegas for the Fence Workers Association show. And then whatever other shows are coming out. Guys, if you enjoy going to any other shows, let me know. I'm always open to learning more and learning different areas of the business, or maybe even it's not business related. Maybe it's something like the social media marketing world, a non-fencing related trade show that we should go to. So I tell you what, one I should look into. So I attended one called the Customer Service Revolution. It was CSR It was in Cleveland of all places. But yeah, 2-day show. Anything, everything, just revolving around customer service and improving the customer service experience in your business. If you get the opportunity to attend one of these shows, you absolutely should. If you're attending a show that I haven't mentioned, like I said, please reach out. Let me know. I'm always willing to go new places and learn new things. Brian, I absolutely agree. The great time to be in the fence and gate industry. Oh, and then Brian said, I think it did come from our talks of the show. All right. Okay. So I will just claim like partial ownership of the idea then, just per this. We're just going to save this forever so that when this becomes a big thing, I'll be like, oh, you know what? Brian and I were talking one day and then here we go. Now I literally just had like part of the idea portion of this, and then they have absolutely executed the idea, which is probably the more important part of this little deal. What is up, Keith Pace? What is up, Texarkana Fence? Al Martin says, defense training school. Oh, the fence training school, we build ornamental, vinyl, wood, and chain link fences. Absolutely. I thought we were going to be like talking about defense training too. Here we go. Talking about somewhat fence related, but maybe not. Maybe we're, but at the fence training school. Absolutely. All different disciplines. Hey, Al, let me know if you guys need chain link. I know we had shipped you guys some chain link last year. Let me know if you need any chain link this year. I will make that happen as well. Guys, we're over the 1 hour mark, which means we made it. So if you guys are still watching and listening, thank you. I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you're still listening on the podcast, thank you so much. If you don't mind leaving a review, that would be excellent as well. If you guys listen to me on the podcast, which is the audio only portion of this show, go ahead and feel free to leave me a review. They tell me that does really good things for the show. With all that being said, guys, I'll see you next week. So next week's show will be a good one. We're going to talk about just basically financial related discussion about fencing businesses, running a financially successful business. Until next time, Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you, that's right, the good fences make good neighbors. I'll see you next week.